let's start going through each of these questions one at a time and making sure that we understand, thank you, where we're coming from each of these. Now, I thought number one was a really hard question, extremely hard. So if you struggled with number one, that just makes you perfectly normal. All right? A lab has 2 bacteria cultures. This was taken right off an old state assessment test. Culture A has 8 times 10 to the 4th bacteria, and culture B has 4 times 10 to the 6th. How do they compare in size? All right, so you know what? Not too many kids walk around with scientific notation understanding fully in their head when you compare that to regular numbers or standard numerals. So this would be culture A. I just wrote that out as a standard numeral. Excuse me. Culture B as a standard numeral. Now, notice how everything is in terms of multiplication and division. So I'm going to reduce everything they share in common. So I'm going to get rid of 4 zeros here and 4 zeros here. When you compare A to B, A has a size of 8, B has a size of 400. How many times bigger is B than A? Don't you have to divide it into it to see? Right, like if B was 16, wouldn't it be twice as big? Because 8 would divide into 16 twice, but it's 400, so I have to do 8 goes into 400. How many times does 8 go into 400? How many? Come on guys, head in the game, here. Not 5, the 5 gets you into the 40. Then I bring down the 0, don't forget 8 into 0 is 0 times, so it's 50. So culture A is 1/50th as big as culture B. Or another way to say it is culture B is 50 times bigger than culture A. Okay? I think that's a really hard question when compared to the normal type of scientific notation question. Which one is not linear? The one that's not linear is D. The way we know D is not linear is really simple. Do you see the term that's squared there? Squared means it's what we call quadratic as long as the highest exponent is 2. So therefore, it is definitely the one that is not linear. Now, here's a question a lot of kids got wrong. Students organized the 12th hour dance-a-thon. I have a feeling when we show you how to do this the right way, you're going to want to kick yourself in the butt. Students organized the 12-hour dance-a-thon, blah, blah, blah. It says how much amount of money they raised during the first 8 hours. And then it says down here, that's what the graph represents, but the question is how much was raised, not total for the 8 hours, but what? Per hour. So in the first 8 hours, how much was raised? 240. So a lot of kids were putting down 240 as the answer. It's not 240, yes?
Can we do 240 divided by 8?
Yes, you do. Because it wants per hour. Per means to divide. 240 divided by 8 is 30. So the answer is 30 per hour.
That's easy.
It is easy once you see it.
Or you have 60 divided by 2.
Right, yeah, that's a great point. You could have done here 60 divided by 2, which is actually the way I did it on the test. Or 120 divided by 4, or 180 divided by 6. And that's the thing about slope. Slope is a constant in a line, a constant rate of change. They're all going to work out to be 30. Okay, so I thought number 1 was killer hard. I thought number 2, I thought number 3 you guys got tripped up on. You should have been able, I think, to do number 3. Now we get into a series of questions that were very predictable. And there are a series of questions that you have been prepped for. And you know, when you guys come into the room here, I can basically divide you into 2 groups. The kids who take their time very, very seriously in here. When they come in, they want to improve, they want to get better, they want to learn how to get these questions right. And then there are kids who come in here like, man, I gotta find a way to make Mr. Lindquist think I'm doing work, but I don't really want to do any work. Because then I get out of my work. And if I get out of my work, that's so much better than doing work. But you need to understand something. There's a price to pay for that. Yes, yes, you faked me out, congratulations. Proud of yourself. You only hurt yourself. Because right now, you're sitting there with a really bad average. I just filled out the progress reports. I just sent them home. Well, the school's gonna send them home later today. If you've got like an average, the comment I put, the only comment I really put, if you're missing homework, I put missing homework. And the other comments that I put are whatever your average is. My comment code 47 means your average is from 90 to 100. 46 means your average is from 80 to 89. 45 means your average is from 70 to 79. 44 means your average is from 65 to 69. 43 means your average is from 50 to 64. And 42 means your average is below 50. There are people in here who got 42s, which means your average is below 50. Now, if I'm sitting home and I get a thing about my kid that says his average is below 50 or her average is below 50, it's going to get ugly. I've said this before. Parents get really, really upset about that kind of thing because there's two things going on here. First off, your parents probably say to you that your job is schoolwork. That's your job. Your parents have a very specific job too. Mom and dad have to go to work, they gotta make the money to pay for the house, and in so paying for the house, they also have to put food on the table, they have to get you clothes, most of them pay for your cell phones, they have to do all this sort of stuff, that is their responsibility. If they fail to do their responsibility, they fail to get paid. If they fail to get paid often enough, you get kicked out of the house. You lose your cell phone. You don't have a car. Repo man comes and visits. The repo, he's repossessing. Now, you guys, your parents probably look at you and they say to you, you have a job also. Your job is your schoolwork. And if you don't do your schoolwork, then you're not doing your job. And because they suffer if they don't do their job, what do you think they're gonna make you do because you don't do your job? Suffer. It's very fair. But then it goes a step further. Every parent, in the back of their mind, knows that they have a responsibility to you. They realize that schoolwork doesn't come easy, and they have to make sure that you are doing your work. But the truth is, I'm gonna just ask very quickly, what time do your parents get home at night? Anybody's parents ever home before 4 o'clock?
No.
Raise your hand. We got 3. Anybody's parents home sometime between 4 and 7?
No.
We have 5 more. Anybody's parents home after 7? Well, as someone who gets home after 7, a lot of nights, and I had kids, obviously, my 2 sons, the last thing you feel like doing when you go to work at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and you get home after 7 o'clock at night, even if you get home at 5 or 6 o'clock, you have worked so hard, so long, all day long, the last thing you really want to do is sit down and do schoolwork with your kid. You're fried. But every parent knows they should do it. So if your parent doesn't sit down with you to make sure your work is done, and then you screw up, part of the parent knows that they should have been there to make sure your work was done. Not necessarily sitting at the kitchen table with you while you do the work, but looking over your shoulder saying, show me the work. Get that done. I don't want to hear no. Get that done. So now they're mad at themselves. And have you ever noticed how much madder parents get when they're mad at themselves and mad at you? Right? You ever see the anger that comes out? And who's going to catch that anger? You are. This is just the way the world works. So yeah, you came in here and you faked me out. Congratulations.
Played yourself.
That's exactly what you did.
You played yourself.
Because now what happens is, you didn't get a chance to make up the first bad test grade because it's too late. And now the second one comes along. And if you take this seriously, and you come in here like, yo man, I gotta get rid of that bad grade. Because if I don't get rid of that bad grade, mom and dad, they're not gonna be happy campers. And if mom and dad aren't happy campers, you're not a happy camper. So it's in your best interest to do this to get it done. It's as simple as that. So if you wanna keep playing like, or as Frankie says, playing me, yeah.
Good morning.
How are you?
Just doing a sync survey.
Okay. If you wanna say that and figure out and so on and so forth, and go thinking that, you pulled it off, Yeah, you did all right, you did, congratulations.
A plate.
You really, really, really pulled it off on yourself.
Doing a sink survey.
Shh, stop. You really pulled it off on yourself. So what you've managed to do is hurt yourself. Congratulations. Now, number 4, this is pretty routine because we used to do tons of questions like this earlier in the year. And to me, when I put a question like this on the test, this is meant to be a present. Yeah, it's really meant to be easy. Multiply coefficients, add exponents. Notice you're not adding here, you're multiplying the two. So 3 times 5 is 15, add exponents, n to the 4th. Now, n squared means n times n, and this n squared means n times n, and since we're multiplying them, that's just a total of 4 n's. Which expression is not, keyword there, equivalent to 5 to the 3rd over 5 to the 5th. Now we're going to subtract exponents, and 3 minus 5 is -2. So that's 5 to the -2, so we know that works. A negative exponent, reciprocal. There's 1 over 5 squared, we know that works. That's the reciprocal part. 5 squared is 25, so I know those are the same thing, but not 1 over 5 to the -2. In fact, there's no way that 1 over 5 to the 2 and 1 over 5 to the -2 are the same. So therefore, choice D is the one not equivalent. A scientist is studying the cells of a developing animal. Day 5, there are 15,000 cells. On day 7, there are 7 times 10 to the 6th. How many more cells are there? Well, every time I get in things like this with scientific notation, I like to switch to regular numbers. On day 5, there are 15 cells, and on day 7, there are 70 cells. How would you figure out how many more there are? Subtract, good. So first I'm going to do 7 times 10 to the 6th. There's 7 times 10 to the 6th. And here's 15,000 on this day. And I'm going to do exactly what Michael said, which is to subtract. 0, 0, 0. And this comes out to be 6985. And now we have the problem. This answer has to go back because it says here, in scientific notation. So you have to put your answer back to scientific notation. What I saw on the test was many students who gave their answer, but they didn't convert it back to scientific notation. Be very careful about reading that question thoroughly. So I gotta go 3 places, 4, 5, 6. 6.985 times 10 to the 6th. And that's the correct answer. Okay, any questions? All right. Okay. Boys. All right. Now, the next thing we get to, a container has 5.8 times 10 to the 7th cubic meters of space. In each cubic meter of space, there are 4 times 10 to the 3rd, 4.3 times 10 to the 4th widgets. How many widgets expressed in scientific notation? Now, again, I don't like this scientific notation stuff, so let's change it to regular number. A container has 5 cubic meters, and there's 4 widgets in each. If you have 5 cubic meters and there's 4 widgets in each, how many do you have altogether? 20. What did you do with the 5 and the 4 to get to 20? Multiply. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do 5.8 times 10 to the 7 times 4.3 times 10 to the 4th. And I know I'm going to get 10 to the 11th out of it because I have to add the exponents. And, you know, I have to multiply 5.8 times 4.3, but look what I did for you. Look, I gave you choices. Is there any way in the world 5.8 times 4.3 is 101? No, not a chance. So it's not B or C, or B or D. And I know this is going to be 2494, but when I first multiply, don't I have to move the decimal 2 places because of 1, 2? But is that an acceptable way to put the answer for scientific notation? Is that in scientific notation right there? Why is it not?
Because it had
Caroline?
Isn't the exponent supposed to be under 10?
No, not the exponent, the number in front. Right? You can't have 24.94. I gotta divide by 10 here, then multiply by 10 there, and I get 2.494 times 10 to the 12th, which makes it choice C.
She,
And to be honest with you, I'm kind of surprised at the number of kids who didn't get that right, because not in a word problem, but if I just gave it to you as a regular problem without words, lots of kids get this right, and I've been so impressed throughout the year at like 80 or 90% of the kids or more getting it right, and then all of a sudden start getting it wrong. It's not normal. All right. Which has the greatest value for f of 3? Plug in a 3. What's 2 times 3? 6 minus 1.
okay, that's a,
Negative 3 times 3 plus 19. Negative 9 plus 19, that's 10. 3 squared plus 5, what's 3 squared? 9 plus 5? 14, good. And then this one would be 9, because we just did 3 squared was 9. Minus 4 times 3 is 9 minus 12, that's negative 3. So the one with the biggest value is C.
C.
I hope as we're going through this, you know, I thought number 1 was really tough. But I hope after number 1, you're saying to yourself, man, you know what? I should have gotten a bunch of these. I should not have missed these. Okay, number 9. Oh, Lord, number 9. Lordy, 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 number 9. What's the slope on number 9? Yes, thank you. It is not negative 2x. The slope never includes the x. The slope is only the number in front. Now, a lot of kids who got that right, I then asked, what's the slope on number 10? And they said 3.
3x.
Some said 3x. Eh. Why isn't the slope 3? 3 is what's in front of the x. Go ahead.
It's not in y.
That's right. Very good. It's not in y equals form. You have to divide everything by 2 first. So then I get y equals, there's my slope, 3 over 2. Okay? Next question. What's the y-intercept? 4.
Oh, wait, you need, oh,
Yeah, not on the previous one, on number 11.
oh,
Yeah, that y-intercept works out to be 4, and that's because this is in y equals form. So I can go right to y equals mx plus b, and the slope, the y-intercept, I'm sorry, is the number at the end. Next one, what's the y-intercept here? What's the problem, guys?
It's not.
Not in y equals. So first I have to minus the 3x,
Oh, wait.
and I get 5y equals negative 3x plus 10. Remember, they go die-die. Then I have to divide by 5. So what does the y-intercept work out to be? Come on, hey, let's go. What's the y-intercept work out to be? 2, very good. 10 divided by 5, which is 2. All right, next one. What's true of the line y is equal to x? What's the slope of this line right here? 1, very good. It's the number in front of the x. What's the y-intercept? 0, good. It's the number at the end and there's nothing there. So the one that has the correct choice is choice C. The slope is 1, the y-intercept is 0. Okay? Now number 14 says, what's the slope of the line connecting those two? Remember your slope formula? Y from the second minus y from the first over x from the second minus x from the first. I don't really care what order, but I'm going to do this because I like to subtract so that I get the y's positive. So I get 7 minus 4, and then I get 1 minus negative 2, circle I got 3 over 3. So the slope works out to be 1. You could have put 3 over 3, a lot of kids did, and that does get you credit, yes?
How do you know the difference between y2 and y1?
This just means the y from the second point and the y from the first, x from the second, x from the first. And the only thing they're really trying to do is get you to do it in the same order. It doesn't matter which point is first and second. What matters is this, Caroline. If I do 7 minus 4, I then have to do 1 minus negative 2.
But we can do it like either.
You could do it the other way too, you could do 4 minus 7, but then you have to do negative 2 minus 1.
Okay.
You can't switch directions. That's all that formula means, is do not subtract, switch directions. All right. What's the solution to the equation below? Well, let's do a little bit of distributing here.
Wait, what was number?
And I get 2x minus 6 equals 2x plus 5. I subtract 2x from both sides. Hey, wait a minute. This is getting weird. Does negative 6 ever equal 5? No. If negative 6 never equals 5, then that means there's never an answer. Choice C is correct. Number 16.
Wait, what was 14?
What?
What was 14?
We just did 14. That was the slope one.
I was trying to copy it down. I didn't get
It worked out to be 1, 3 over 3. Write the equation of the line that's parallel to the first line, but the same y-intercept as the second. What do you know about parallel lines and slopes? We should know this, guys. Come on. Parallel lines and slopes.
They have the same.
They have the same slope. Very good. So if it's parallel to this guy, it has the same slope as this guy. What's the slope that this guy has? 3. So it's going to be y equals 3x, but it says it has the same y-intercept as that guy. What's the y-intercept in that guy? 3. So the answer is y equals 3x plus 3. So there is part 1. All 16 questions done. The only thing I want to add to this, because I did not do it in the other videotape, is the cookie question. Cookie! All right, so let's change this down to 75. All right, he starts with 31 and he eats 4 a day. So, if he starts with 31, that means when he begins, at day 0, so to speak, he has 31 cookies. He eats 4 a day. On the first day, he eats 4. How many are left? Come on, he eats 4. How many are left?
26.
20.
Wait, 27.
27. Then
23.
23. Come on, how can you resist chocolate chip cookies?
19.
Next, 19, then 15, then 11, then 7. Are you on a diet? 3. All right, so now here's the problem. The problem is that I don't have 31 spaces on the left. So I'm going to go up by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 31,
Wait, how many are you going up by?
3s. And then across the bottom I can go by 1s. I got plenty of room on the bottom. All right, so 0 matches up with 31. That's a 33 up top there. 31 is right about there. Doesn't look like a 3, but it is. Day 1 is 27. So on day 1 we're on 27, which is right nice and perfect on that point. Then we're at 23, which is here. Then we are at 19, which is here. Then we are at 15, which is here. Then we're at 11, which is here. Oh, I didn't really show off. 11. Then we're at 7. And then we are at 3. So if I, there we go. There's my line drawn, connecting the points. You know, I was very surprised. We did a series of pre-tests, and no one in here did this, but just to show you the kind of things that if the kid prepares, it should never happen. There was a kid in one of the classes who did the chart perfectly, set the graph up perfectly, put the points on perfectly, and never connected the points. There are actually 2 kids who did that. And I'm just shaking my head going, you did things perfectly. Now, we went over it and we showed you that you're supposed to connect the points. What were you thinking? All right, next. Which day will you run out of cookies? Day 8. On day 8, it's a very, very sad day. Very sad. I mean, running out of cookies, that's just heartbreaking. You know, last night, I was tutoring a young lady, used to be a student of mine. She's up in high school now, I was tutoring her. She made me chocolate chip cookies. Lord, that's good. Me like chocolate chip cookies. Okay, got a double dunk in milk.
I'm on a diet.
So good, me too. But that does not mean you can't have a couple cookies. It means you gotta limit the number of cookies. See, that's the problem with diets. With diets, people go on diets and like they don't eat anything for a longest time. And then when they crack, they really crack.
Cheat days.
They're like, they don't want anybody near the food and they devour the whole thing. What's the rate of change? How many cookies are you eating a day?
Dude, how am I doing this? I'm so confused.
Dude?
Dude, wait,
It's not something I'm called very often.
I didn't like say that.
What's the rate of change, guys? How many cookies are being eaten a day?
Tweet.
4.
How
So
am
the
I
rate of change is down 4. How many cookies did you begin or start with?
30.
31. So the equation is y equals negative 4x plus 31.
Yeah.
I just did everything wrong.
Like,
Okay? Do we realize how to do it right?
Because instead of graphing 0, I graphed 1 with 31, and now everything's off.
Yeah, everything would be a little off. Okay. Now,
I wanted to-
you guys can now begin your relearn packet. Start on section 1, do the odds. Bring me the odds when you're done. And I have to post all this stuff online. What's that? You have about 12 minutes, maybe 15.